Welcome back, and yep, I'm wearing Columbus again now. So this morning it came out that Babcock might be going through some phones. Well, Babcock and Boone Jenner have both answered this. So Jenner and Babcock have answered the allegation, saying that basically was just sharing family photos. Now, whether or not he projected those photos for other players to see, may very well have done so. But so this then brings up another question. So it's brought up on Spit and Chicklets, which Babcock was not happy about. He said that it was misrepresented what had happened. Jenner also seemed to back up that side of it. So this means that there is a player, or there are players who are perfectly willing to leak out anything that goes on in Columbus if it might make Mike Babcock look bad. So if I'm Jarmo Kekalainen and I'm watching all this, my question becomes: okay, so who was it that texted that, which caused this kerfuffle? And so I think there's a storyline here, and it does make you wonder if all the players are behind the new coach or not. And again, we can have that whole debate about Babcock and the issues with him in the past. But yeah, so I think this is a sign there's something else with Columbus. And if you're a Blue Jackets fan, remember, we haven't started training camp yet. So if nothing untoward's going on here, and if this was just something simple that was blown out of proportion, the blowing it out of proportion doesn't start with Spit and Chicklets. It starts with whoever it was who texted Paul Bissonnette and said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this." So, right? So that's somebody tied to the Columbus organization, or somebody who knows people within Columbus who are talking. Either way, that would point to an issue within Columbus, which can get stomped out quickly, right? You're not in training camp yet. You can have a team meeting once you're in training camp and say, all right, here's our guidelines, but we'll see where it goes from here. I get the feeling we may be talking about Columbus this year more than usual. Maxime Comtois finally signs his tryout. So he was rumored to have had a professional tryout with Vegas, I want to say 2 weeks ago. It's official today. So it's kind of odd that it's that much of a time between when it was rumored and when it's finally happening. But again, we haven't started training camp yet, so it's not a big deal. Carey Price, speaking to the press today, he sounds a lot more at peace now with where he's at than he did a couple of years ago. Basically saying that his knee is fine for him to walk around and for him, and in his normal everyday day-to-day life. But to play hockey is something completely different. His knee cannot do it. So he's not playing this season. He also said that if Montreal, when asked about whether or not if Montreal trades his contract, is he okay with that? He says he wants to do what he can to help. And if that means trading his contract, then it means trading his contract. It would be difficult to find a taker, even though you can put the whole thing on LTIR. It is $10 million, and it's 3 more years at $10 million. So we'll see if there's any takers for the contract if Montreal is or has or does try to trade it. And he also accepts that he's unlikely to play again. I mean, the longer you're out of the game, the harder it is to come back, especially once you're older. And in Price's case, that is the situation he's in. So it's nice to hear that Price seems to be more at peace with things than he was at press conferences in previous years about his knee. And that, it is too bad to see his career end that way if this is in fact the end, and it definitely sounds like it is. But at least he's taking it well. The Edmonton Oilers, a lot of articles about players talking about, defensive work and how they've learned and how they're ready to take that next step. The rubber meets the road once we hit training camp, preseason, and all of that. But at least they're saying all the right things. And of course, this time of year, I've done videos before on here's the things we're going to hear over training camp. Here's the things we're going to hear during the preseason. And it's all basically the same things we hear every year. But of course, when NHL players give you a soundbite that isn't the normal NHL soundbite, people are like, wow, did you hear what he said? So, especially if it's anything remotely critical, then it gets, blown up and everything, and right? So that happens. But at any rate, I do wish the Oilers all the best and everything. It sounds like they've got all their ducks in a row, and we'll see whether or not that translates to results early in the season. It should, and what that does for them once they reach the playoffs, which again, they should. So, of course, the rookie tournaments are this week and this weekend. A lot of rookies, a lot of lineups. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's not a big deal. I've seen rookie rosters being released for these tournaments and people saying, where's this guy and where's that guy? But in general, most of your blue chip prospects who can play in the tournament will. If they don't, there's usually a good reason why they can't or they won't. So The rookie tournaments are fun. I don't really take much from them. I take them all with a grain of salt because it's a bunch of, players trying to earn jobs in training camp who are all playing against each other. So while it's fun, and I mean, I went to the blue versus white game of the Vancouver Canucks prospects a few years back. That was a fun game, but really, they really don't mean a whole lot in terms of who's going to make the team and who's not going to make the team in a few weeks' time. But they're fun, and I know why people like to go and watch them. It is great to see the players who have yet to break into the NHL and kind of try to put your scouting hat on and say, I think this guy's got it. I don't think this guy does, and then see if you're right or you're not. So yeah, this is the week where all those rosters are being revealed on social media. We've seen that today, and I would expect that to continue. And of course, we've got the tournament in Penticton. I do get asked whether or not we're going to Penticton. We're not going to Penticton for the tournament. It's just the logistics of it for us, and with all the family commitments and stuff, it just doesn't work. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm glad to see that tournament in Penticton going annually again. And then, of course, the Canucks, their training camp, I believe, is in Victoria this year, so that should be great for them and great for the people of Victoria. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And as I've told Columbus fans for years, there just hasn't been that much conversation worthy when it comes to Columbus. Now there is. So I have plenty to talk about with Columbus today, and we'll see if that's the case going forward. My guess is yes. This is a team that's under pressure to bounce back from a really miserable year. They've got a coach who usually gives you very good sound bites, is controversial, and this is a roster that I think we could have an interesting season with. So I look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for all your support. If you haven't already hit like and subscribe, please do both, and I will talk to you again soon.